Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at the administrative side of business and tackling a process that might seem mundane at first glance, but is absolutely crucial to keeping the lights on. Invoice processing.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. It really is the lifeblood of a company's finances. We've got a stack of sources here that break down not only the steps involved, but also the potential risks businesses face if they don't have a robust and ideally automated system in place.
You've definitely piqued my curiosity. I think most people have a general idea of what an invoice is. It's a bill, right? But what makes this whole processing side so critical?
Well, think of it this way. An invoice is essentially a record of a transaction, a formal request for payment. But it's not just about sending out a piece of paper or an email. It's about making sure that every transaction is accurately documented, tracked, and ultimately paid for. That whole journey from generating the invoice to getting that money in the bank is what we're calling invoice processing.
Okay, that makes sense. It sounds like a lot more than just sending a bill. So what are the typical stages involved? I'm guessing it's not as simple as just typing up a document and hitting send.
You're right, there's more to it than meets the eye. One of our sources breaks it down into several key steps. It starts with verifying the order, making sure everything is correct before you even create the invoice. Think of it as a quality control check to avoid headaches down the line.
So double-checking details like the items ordered, quantities, prices, and even the customer's contact info, those kinds of things.
Exactly. It's all about starting off on the right foot. Then comes the generation of the invoice itself. This is where you include all the essential elements like the invoice number, date, itemized list of goods or services, payment terms, and of course the total amount due.
It seems pretty straightforward, but I imagine there's room for error if you're not careful.
Absolutely. Even a small mistake on an invoice can lead to big problems later on. That's why accuracy is paramount. Once the invoice is generated, you need to send it to the customer. And these days, there are several ways to do that, from traditional postal mail to email to e-invoicing platforms.
So it's important to choose the method that's most efficient and reliable for your business and your customers.
Exactly. And once you send it off, the process doesn't stop there. The next stage is tracking payments. This involves monitoring due dates, following up on outstanding invoices, and essentially making sure that money comes in on time.
Sounds like this stage is all about staying organized and proactive. What happens if a payment is late? Do you just send a reminder, or is there a more formal process involved?
Well, it depends on the company's policies and the specific circumstances, but generally it starts with friendly reminders. If those don't work, you might need to escalate things with more formal notices, or even involve a collections agency in extreme cases.
I'm starting to see how this process can get pretty complicated. Is that where the risks come in?
Definitely. One of our sources highlights the potential financial strain that late payments can cause for businesses. It can disrupt cash flow, make it difficult to cover expenses, and even lead to debt accumulation.
That sounds like a nightmare scenario for any business owner.
It can be, and it's not just about the financial impact. There's also the potential damage to customer relationships. If invoices are consistently late or inaccurate, it can erode trust and lead to disputes.
Okay, so we've touched on the financial and relational risks. Are there any other potential pitfalls businesses should be aware of?
Well, there's also the legal aspect to consider. Different countries have specific regulations surrounding invoicing, like the ones you mentioned earlier regarding Spain. If you're not compliant, you could face penalties or legal issues.
So staying informed and up to date on those regulations is crucial.
Absolutely. And it's not just about external regulations. Internally, a poorly managed invoice processing system can lead to inefficiencies, errors, and even fraud. Think about it. If you don't have a clear audit trail or proper controls in place, it's easier for things to slip through the cracks.
It's all starting to make sense now. It's not just about sending a bill and getting paid. There are all these interconnected elements and potential risks that businesses need to manage carefully.
Precisely, and that's where the concept of automation comes into play. By using software to streamline and automate many of these tasks, businesses can significantly reduce the risk of errors, improve efficiency, and free up valuable time for their employees to focus on more strategic initiatives.
Okay. Automation sounds intriguing. Before we dive into that, though, I'm curious about the record-keeping aspect of invoice processing. You mentioned it briefly earlier, but can you elaborate on why it's so important?
Sure. Proper record keeping is essential for several reasons. First, it helps ensure compliance with tax laws and other regulations. You need to be able to provide accurate documentation if you're ever audited. Second, it helps you track your finances effectively, analyze trends, and make informed business decisions. And third, it can be invaluable in resolving disputes or legal issues that may arise.
So it's not just about stuffing invoices into a filing cabinet and forgetting about them. It's about having a system in place to organize, store, and easily retrieve those records when needed.
Exactly. And that's another area where technology can be incredibly helpful. Digital archiving solutions can streamline record keeping, improve security, and make it much easier to access and manage your invoice data.
It sounds like a win-win situation. You improve efficiency, reduce risks, and gain valuable insights all at the same time.
Precisely. And that's the beauty of a well-designed and automated invoice processing system. It's not just about taking care of a necessary task. It's about leveraging that process to gain a competitive edge and drive business growth.
This is really making me think about how I handle my own invoicing.
Yeah.
Before I get too distracted, though, can we delve a little deeper into the types of problems that can crop up when invoice processing isn't handled well? You've mentioned a few things, but I'd love to get some specific examples.
Of course. Let's start with one of the most common inaccurate information on invoices. Imagine a scenario where a business accidentally puts the wrong quantity or price on an invoice.
Okay, I can see where this is going.
Yeah.
They end up undercharging the customer, right?
Exactly. And while it might seem like a minor mistake, it can have a significant impact on the bottom line, especially if it happens frequently. Not to mention the potential for disputes and damage to the business's reputation if the customer feels like they've been misled.
Ouch. That's a painful lesson to learn.
Right.
What about on the flip side? What if the business overcharges the customer?
That can be just as problematic. It can lead to angry customers, refunds, and potentially even legal action if the customer feels like they were intentionally overcharged.
So accuracy is absolutely crucial at every stage of the process.
Absolutely. And it's not just about numbers. Incorrect customer information, billing addresses, or even typos in product descriptions can cause delays, confusion, and ultimately harm the customer relationship.
It sounds like a domino effect. One small error can trigger a whole chain of negative consequences.
Precisely. Another common problem is late payments. We touched on this earlier, but let me give you a real-world example. Imagine a small business that relies on timely payments to cover its operating expenses. Now imagine a few of their larger clients consistently pay their invoices late.
Oh, I can already see the stress levels rising.
Exactly. That delay in cash flow can make it difficult to meet payroll, pay suppliers, or even invest in growth opportunities. It can put the business in a precarious financial position.
And I imagine it can also strain those customer relationships. No one likes to be hounded about late payments, and the business owner doesn't want to be in that position either.
You're right. It can create a lot of tension and potentially damage what might otherwise be a good business relationship. And these are just a couple of examples. We could talk about lost or misplaced invoices, inefficient manual processes, lack of visibility into payment status. The list goes on.
Okay, I'm getting the picture. It sounds like there are a lot of things that can go wrong if invoice processing isn't handled carefully. But we're almost out of time for this segment of the deep dive. Before we move on, can you give us a quick preview of what we'll be exploring in the next part?
Absolutely. In the next part, we'll delve deeper into the solutions. We'll explore how automation can revolutionize invoice processing, discuss the benefits of different software solutions, and provide some practical tips for optimizing your system to avoid those common pitfalls we've discussed today.
That sounds incredibly useful. I'm already eager to learn more. For our listeners, be sure to join us for part 2 of this deep dive, where we'll unpack the strategies and tools you can use to transform your invoice processing from a potential headache into a well-oiled machine. See you soon.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Before the break, we explored the potential pitfalls of inefficient invoice processing. Now, let's shift our focus to solutions and explore how businesses can optimize this critical process.
I'm all ears.
Yeah.
In the last part, you mentioned automation as a game changer. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. Automation is essentially about using software to streamline tasks that were previously done manually. Think about all the steps involved in invoice processing. Generating invoices, sending them out, tracking payments, following up on late payments, and even archiving records. Many of these tasks can be automated with the right software.
So instead of having employees spend hours manually inputting data or chasing down payments, the software can handle those tasks automatically.
Exactly. It frees up valuable time for your team to focus on more strategic initiatives like building customer relationships, analyzing data, or developing new products and services.
That makes a lot of sense. What are some of the specific benefits businesses can expect to see from automating their invoice processing?
Well, first and foremost, it significantly reduces the risk of errors. Humans are prone to making mistakes, especially when dealing with repetitive tasks like data entry. Automated systems, on the other hand, can process information with a much higher degree of accuracy.
That's a huge advantage, especially when you consider the potential consequences of even small errors on invoices. Are there any other benefits beyond accuracy?
Absolutely. Automation also improves efficiency. Think about the time it takes to manually create and send out invoices, track due dates, and follow up on payments. An automated system can handle all of that in a fraction of the time, freeing up your team to focus on more value-added activities.
So it's not just about saving time, it's about making better use of that time. What about the financial benefits? Does automation actually help businesses save money?
It certainly can. By reducing errors, streamlining processes, and improving efficiency, automation can lead to cost savings in several areas. For example, you might be able to reduce labor costs by automating tasks that were previously done by employees. You might also be able to negotiate early payment discounts with suppliers by taking advantage of the faster processing times offered by automated systems.
I'm starting to see how automation can be a real game changer for businesses of all sizes. Are there any other advantages we haven't touched on yet?
Yes, there are. Automation can also improve visibility and control over your invoice processing. With an automated system, you have real-time access to data on the status of invoices, payment history, and other key metrics. This allows you to identify potential bottlenecks, track performance, and make more informed decisions.
So instead of flying blind, you have a clear dashboard that shows you exactly what's happening with your invoices at any given time. That's incredibly powerful.
It is. And don't forget about the benefits for customer relationships. Automated systems can send out timely payment reminders, provide online portals for customers to view their invoices and make payments, and generally create a more streamlined and efficient experience.
So it's not just about making life easier for the business, it's about improving the customer experience as well.
Exactly. And that can go a long way in building loyalty and strengthening those relationships.
Okay, I'm convinced. Automation sounds like a must-have for any business that wants to optimize its invoice processing. But let's get practical for a moment. What are some specific types of software solutions that businesses can use to automate this process?
Well, there's a wide range of options available, from basic accounting software to more specialized invoice processing solutions. One popular category is cloud-based accounting software. These platforms offer a suite of tools for managing finances, including invoicing, expense tracking, and reporting.
So it's like a one-stop shop for all your financial management needs.
Exactly. And because they're cloud-based, you can access them from anywhere with an internet connection, which is incredibly convenient for businesses with remote teams or multiple locations.
That's a huge advantage in today's world. Are there any other types of software worth considering?
Yes, there are specialized invoice processing solutions that focus specifically on automating the end-to-end invoicing process.